I think that's it. We're live on Facebook. Hey, everybody. It's May 1st. That blows my mind. That May is already here. It is upon us. Welcome back to another edition of Parents Helping Parents Live. Really glad you could join us. Hopefully you are enjoying all the spring weather, wherever you might be at, like we've had in Oklahoma City over the weekend and today. If you're not familiar with Parents Helping Parents, we're an Oklahoma-based nonprofit organization with the mission of providing education, resources, and shared experiences to parents who have children any age that might be struggling with substance use disorders. If you're a parent who has a 15-year-old who's beginning to experiment with drugs and alcohol, you're in the right spot. We want to offer you education, resources, and share our experiences with you. If you are a parent who is in your 60s and has a mid-40s child who's still struggling with substance use or maybe even has found recovery, you're in the right spot too. We also want to support you and share resources and experiences and education. So, and everywhere in between is kind of what we do. If you want more information about the ins and the outs of all the different support groups that we host, of all the different online information that we have available, I would suggest you do a couple of things. One is you can check us out on the internet, www.parentshelpingparents.info. There's lots of good information there. And if you're seeing this video not on our Facebook page, but maybe because somebody shared it, you can also follow us on Facebook at Parents Helping Parents Inc. At Parents Helping Parents Inc. There's all sorts of information, content, support groups happening live throughout the day, throughout the week. We've got lots of wonderful things going on. That serves as a great reminder. If you're watching live on our Facebook page right now, reach over, do me a favor, click the share button on your feed. I'm going to do it right now as you're talking, and I'm going to share public. That does a couple of things. One is it just helps spread the net that we're casting tonight with our information. There's probably, I mean, most everybody that's watching maybe has 200-300, some people way more Facebook friends and connections than that. If you share this to your feed, all of those people are now going to have access to it, whether they follow Parents Helping Parents or not. The reason that that's important, because out of those 200 or 300 people, one of those people might have a family member that's struggling with addiction and struggling with substance use. And so sharing that video, this could quite literally be the piece of information that provides hope for them, that gives them an opportunity to change and find recovery, which is what we're going for. We want to pull people out of their substance use disorders. We want to pull people out of their emotional illnesses, and we want them to find recovery. So I think that's all the rambling I'm going to do. Hey, I'm really grateful tonight to have my buddy Stephen Medley joining us. Stephen is a co-owner of an outpatient facility with actually multiple locations. I'm sure he'll tell you all about stages of recovery. So Stephen's joining us tonight. We're going to hear a little bit about Stephen's story, and then we just want to answer everybody's questions that they might want to ask. Maybe things that you have never asked before, maybe curiosities that you have about families and about addiction and about treatment and about recovery, all of the above. And so there's a couple of ways that you can interact with us during this discussion tonight. If you want to, you can comment live in the Facebook feed. I'm monitoring that. And so if you've got a question, you just want to comment live there, that's wonderful. Do that. I will be watching that. Please remember, though, that's on the internet. That's attached to your name. People are going to know what questions you ask. And so if you've got any concerns about your privacy or your anonymity, there is a secret way you can ask questions. And the title of this video is a phone number. And if you text that phone number to me, or you text that number, it goes directly to my Google Voice messages. And so you can ask questions there anonymously and privately, and we will be able to answer all of those on your behalf. So 2 ways you can interact with us. We're more than willing to pinball around all of your questions. Stephen has a wealth of experience, both as a provider and as a person in long-term recovery. And I value his opinion greatly, value his friendship greatly, and what he does in the community. So Steve, man, welcome to the party.
Hey, thanks for having me. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you just fine, brother.
Good. Okay, so I just moved out to Dallas, and I don't have any office furniture or stuff, and I have my dog out here, and so he's probably going to distract me a little bit. unfortunately. I might have to put them up. So I'm Steve Medley. I've been sober since 6/21 of 1998. I got sober when I was 19. So I'm going to tell you guys just a little bit. Dog just threw his bone down these stairs. Let me put him up. Maverick, hey, come here. I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what it was like and what it's like now for me, and a little bit of what happened between and then from there, we can ask some questions, and I will do my best to help out as much as I can. So, I got sober in Oklahoma City in 1998, but 5 years prior to that, I started drinking when I was around 14, 15 years old. And I pretty much held my family hostage with my actions or my words, or I mean, there were times where my mom like took the door off, took my bedroom door off. I mean, I'd stolen her car. I sneak out, like just really probably anything that you could think of that a 19-year-old kid was doing. I was doing. It's bad. I wasn't doing anything good. I wasn't really attending school. I'd say I was a drug dealer, but really I would just sell drugs just enough to get enough money to get alcohol. So it wasn't some big shot, although I thought I was. I had gotten, I think like when I was 18, I had gotten to some argument with my girlfriend, and I was drunk, and I had put my arm through her bedroom window, and I cut my arm open pretty bad. And my friend at the time just dropped me off at the hospital, and I had a bag of pills in my pocket, and that was my first charge. I was on a 5-year deferred, and I didn't want to stop using at all. I thought that was just a really crappy coincidence, and I continued to terrorize my family. Then by the time I was 19, I guess I was dodging the drug test well enough. I'm not really sure what was even going on at that point, but I had got caught drinking and driving this once on that 5-year deferred. I was just drinking in this empty parking lot, and the cop pulled up, and my keys were the ignition, and that was my first DUI. And then the second DUI was, I was really intoxicated. I'd been drinking all day, and I was driving back from Edmond, and an Edmond police officer asked why I was pulled over to the side of the road, and I was lost. I was heading home to Oklahoma City, and they found some weed, and they found some money, and then they asked me if I'd been drinking. And ultimately it all ended with me getting 2 more felonies, another DUI, and so I was in jail, and the best thing that I could think of was just to pray that God would get me out of it. And I was in there for about a week and a half, as best I can remember. And I remember curled up quietly crying in a fetal position because I was on the top bunk, and I didn't want my bunkie to know I was crying. And I said, God, if you just get me out of this, man, I'll promise I won't ever drink again. And like literally like 2 or 3 minutes later, they buzzed me out. It was so bizarre. And my dad picked me up. We headed over to my sister's house, and on the way there, he asked me if I wanted a beer. And I was like, absolutely. Makes total sense. And so I had a beer with my dad. I think that was maybe like, for him, I think this might be my only chance to have a beer with my son. You know what I mean? And I don't think that he understood addiction either. I had signed up for a year-long treatment program, in Oklahoma City called Community House. And I didn't know that there were 30-day programs or 90-day programs. I just signed up for a year. And my lawyer at the time had told me that I was looking at probably 25 years because I was on a 5-year deferred. So there was that. And then there was the 2, 10 years of the felony possession with intent for the other 2 charges and the DUIs. And all of it was like getting accelerated. I was really freaking out. I was 19 years old. I weighed like 155 pounds. And man, was not really built for prison, and I was pretty scared. So I remember going into the treatment center, signing for a year, and just thinking to myself, man, like I know I can't drink alcohol, that's for sure. But I'm not sure about giving up this weed thing. And I was sitting on the couch and this old man walked by and he said, "How old are you?" And I said, "Well, I'm 19 years old." And he said, "Well, I don't think you got a chance in hell." And it wasn't a counselor or anything. It was just some guy that's in the treatment program. And I'm kind of, when somebody tells me I can't do something, it doesn't matter what it is, good or bad. Like I gotta just do it. And so I just did it out of spite for like the first 90 days. I just said, I'm gonna do all of this exactly how they say, just to do it. And man, that program saved my life. And it wasn't because Community House had some special magical thing. I think it was a combination of several different things that were going on in my life. Like I had this outside pressure from the state of Oklahoma, and my mom, which I'll talk about a little bit later, was getting fed secret information from Al-Anon. Had to be, like, because she became a master at saying no right off the rip. I remember I asked her to bring me a pack of cigarettes and this Chronic 2001 rap CD, and she said, "Oh yeah, I'll see you on Sunday." And I was excited. I was going to get a pack of cigarettes and this rap CD. And she shows up with some Inya meditation CD and a bonsai tree. And I'm like, "What is this?" And she said, I'm not going to buy you the things that you want. I'm going to buy you the things that I think you need. And that's it. And I stopped asking her to bring me those things at that point. But there was that, like, my mom and her ability, whether it was because she was getting fed this information from Al-Anon or from my grandmother, or she was just really mad at me, or she was just really greedy and stingy with her money, whatever it was, that was the biggest thing for me that I can remember. I mean, I did have to make a decision to change my life. That was 100% had to happen. But I couldn't not have done that if I continued to have a soft place to put my head, if I continued to have food in my stomach, and I'm sure that her making the decision to kick me out and to put me in a state-funded treatment program wasn't an easy decision for her, But so 4 months go by, and man, I look at my life, and although I was still facing all that time, I had made some really good friends. I'd learned some really good things about myself while I was there. And I remember I was facing the wall, and my sponsor had told me to write down every reservation that I could think of. Like, a reservation is anything that we could think of to use again, right? And like my mom dying, my sister dying, me getting married, me having a kid, like all those celebratory things that you would have a drink over. And I wanted to impress him. And so I made this really long list, like really long. And I took it to him, and he said, "Great, I need you to write a paper on each one of those, 1 page, on why it's a bad idea or why you need to cancel that reservation." And I did it. And I've got one reservation left. And Derek, you're welcome to join me on this reservation. But if I ever become a billionaire and I'm able to buy an island that has a house on it in a bar, that's the only way that I'll probably ever drink again. And I think like the chances of me being like a Bezos or an Elon or any of those guys, man, I think it's pretty slim. Like I'm pretty realistic about that. So I don't think that one's going to come true. But that was a big turning point for my recovery, because at that point I had made the decision that this is who I'm going to be. I'm going to be a person in recovery. And if you do not like that, you do not have to be around me. That includes family members, that includes parents, that includes friends, past, future, or present. If you're not about my recovery, then we don't have to be friends. I can be polite, I can be cordial, but we don't have to be friends. So 2 months later, I got transferred to another program within that program, which was the other 6 months that I had signed up for, which is a transitional housing IOP combination called Ivanhoe. And in Ivanhoe, you had to get a job, you had to pay rent, you had to go to IOP. And I was scared. I was really scared. I remember like saying the 7-step prayer while I was walking, the serenity prayer while I was walking, because my mom wouldn't buy me a car. So I had to go walk everywhere or take a bus for 2 years. And Uber wasn't around. So I couldn't, and cell phones weren't really, all they had was Snake at the time, you know? So, man, those were some character building months for me. I remember being excited about every single chip that I was able to get. I remember being afraid and feeling safe at the same time when I was at the apartments that they had. It was just a really great experience for me. So I went to court after I had a year. And Derek, you have to wave me if I'm running over that time thing. But I went to court, and they said, "Okay, Steve, well, I think you did a great job. Like I had taken some college courses, I got my GED, like I finished this year-long treatment program. I'd been sober. I'd put together some like fundraising events for this treatment center that I was in. Like I felt like I was killing it, and they were going to just let me off the hook." And they didn't. They sent me to another program. It was a 6-month-long program in Woodward, Oklahoma, called RID. It was a boot camp in prison, and there they tore me down again. And thankfully, I was in a position where I had developed some self-esteem, some self-confidence, and I was able to be rebuilt. And I went there.
Hey,
Wayne,
Steve, let me ask you,
Yeah.
I don't want to interrupt, but I've got a specific question about that. And I know that this is off cuff and was not our plan tonight, but whatever.
I'm sorry.
No, it's my fault, because sometimes I hear things and I'm so interested that I've got to ask. Going from where you were at in a really good spot, coming out of your treatment program and feeling like you had recovery, was going well for you and all these kind of things, and getting thrown into an environment like RID, that would be the trigger for a lot of people to say, "I'm out. This obviously isn't worth it." How did you avoid that and stay the course even through that to maintain your sobriety and recovery?
Well, I think it goes back to that decision that I made when I was had 4 months sober. Like that one decision of, this is who I am, this is what I'm going to be about. Everybody that knows me will know this. That one thing, when I would go to job interviews, I would tell them, "Hey, I'm an alcoholic. I'm in recovery. If I need to leave to go to a meeting, I'm leaving to go to a meeting. I can't tell you that that's going to happen a lot, but I'm going to tell you right now that that's important to me. And if that's not okay with you, then we probably just need to end the conversation. And so I was pretty ruthless when it came to that. And when I went to that program, and there was people when I went to RID, and it was challenging. It was hard, but the program that I like, Community House, set the stage for me to be successful at RID. I don't know that if it was a 30-day program that I would have went to and then RID, if I would have been successful. Community House itself, the way it's set up and designed, and like your actions and other people's actions affect everybody else, and blah 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 blah. For me at RID, it was just more of the same, just way more intense.
Yeah.
And what I noticed there, was that I was broken down physically, but mentally and spiritually I was already pretty strong. And so it became more of a challenge for me to not let these people break me down further, and what had ended up happening was I had an opportunity to be a leader in the community. And by the time I was done there, I was leading the marches. I was like leading the PTs, and I went in there weighing 155 and I left weighing like 180, and it was just all muscle. And so if I look at those three components of my 18 months of being detached from society to a degree, I got mental health at Community House. At Ivanhoe, I learned more about spirituality because it was a lot of walking on faith and being out in the world and just being really, really scared that somebody would just walk up to me randomly and offer me some beer, right? Like, and so I was really, really scared, and I have just really leaned on God a lot during that period of time. And then going to RID was just nothing but physical fitness. And God, like those three components, they make the triangle of Alcoholics Anonymous. And they don't make the triangle of Alcoholics Anonymous, but there is a triangle of mind, body, and spirit. And I don't think that if it wasn't for that exact combination for me, I don't know what would be different, because I've got a lot of friends that I got sober with at that time that they never got the physical component. They got the educational component and they got the spirituality component, but they never got the physical component. And their bodies started deteriorating, and they ended up having to get medical cards or whatever, right? And but my point in saying all that, I guess, was that I am a mass proponent of long-term treatment, long-term therapy, and you just would not, if somebody had cancer, you wouldn't take them out of treatment because they started feeling better in 30 or 45 days. Yeah. The disease of alcoholism and addiction and substance abuse, that is not here, just go to this facility for a little while. It's not like that at all. And I've been sober now for 24 years. I still go to meetings. I'm still engaged in a community. I still help other alcoholics and addicts. I still talk to people about my feelings, my fears, my doubts, my concerns. When somebody at a treatment center is telling the family member, hey, you don't need to bring them out. You don't need to take them out. You need to do X, Y, Z. Just take their suggestion. It's regardless of what the kid thinks or the adult thinks, or how you feel, it's imperative.
Yeah, it sounds like that ability to take suggestion for you and in your story was like paramount. Like without you taking the suggestion from people from beginning of that 18 months, even until now, that this wouldn't have gone as well.
Absolutely not. Like Derek, every big decision that I've made that propelled my life into some other like fourth dimension that I wouldn't have ever dreamt of happening was not ever my decision. It was all suggested by somebody else. And all I did was just say, okay. Sometimes I said, fuck it. Okay, whatever. I'll try it, you know?
Yeah.
And in the times that I can remember where I didn't take the suggestions and I would take my will back, which is thousands of times in my sobriety, still today, right? Most of those end up in disaster, man. And you could like graph good times and bad times in my life, and you can tell where I was taking my will and just me trying to run the show, or I was running off of God's will, you know? Because the times I'm running in God's will, man, life is overwhelmingly far better than I could have ever dreamt it to be.
Yeah. How do you get the newcomer, Stephen, the person that's stepping in that's not that willing to take suggestion, to begin to understand like the importance of that concept, to kind of get them coming along at the beginning?
Well, I know that my, like me, first off, time, like your time is the most important. All of us have to get to a point of quiet desperation. And it's, if I was suggesting something to parents of like I've done multiple times, it's y'all's responsibility to help create that opportunity of quiet desperation. And because there's no hope if there's no desperation. What's the point?
Work that out a little bit, man, for people maybe who don't quite hear what you're saying. Like what's the involvement that a family has in helping somebody get more quietly desperate that they need a solution and not to stay stuck in the problem?
Well, it's all the things that the parents feel or the family members fear is what it is. That's the simple answer. So you're afraid of your son or your daughter dying. You're afraid of them getting caught up in sex trafficking. You're afraid of them getting caught and go to prison. You're afraid of them killing somebody else. Mm-hmm. You're afraid of them doing all of those things that you fear, right? And so our actions based out of fear are get him a house and pay his rent, pay for his car, make sure he's got food in his stomach, give him a safe place to lay his head, all of those things. And those are actually the things that continue the enabling of the lack of the desperation. Because if my phone is dying, so I'm gonna plug it in. If I always have a clean pair of underwear and food in the fridge and gas in my car, whatever it is, then why would I ever need to change? Yeah, my life sucks, but it's not that bad because I got all of these other things. If that makes sense. I don't know if that answers your question, but it's...
Yeah, so are you saying that like parents shouldn't do any of those things?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
One of the questions that we had is like, what is tough love and does it work? And that's like what you're describing sounds a lot like an answer to that question.
Yeah. So tough love, I think, is difficult to like from. So my mom loves me, but she doesn't have to fund me. You know what I mean? It's important for any human, not just a kid or an adult, right? Like it's important for any human to go through the developmental phase of messing stuff up, having to repair it, and having to pay for it to be repaired, right? And if the parents are always repairing that for them or rescuing them out of it, then they are robbing the individual or the loved one from the experience of the desperation from that situation and the effort that it takes to get out of it. And all of those things continue to add up over time, right? Like I was hopeless and I was looking at 25 years. And it's because my mom kicked me out on the streets and I had to figure out a way to survive. And the only way that I knew how to survive was to sell drugs and drink alcohol. That's it. And did she risk me losing my life? Absolutely, she did. Did she risk me catching cases and almost going to prison? Yep, she did. And oftentimes, I think that's the struggle of the family is that's the sacrifice that the family has to make in order for the addict to get sober. And the addict has to sacrifice his substance use and his friends. So everybody has to sacrifice something. And unfortunately, the family has to make the biggest sacrifice, which is giving their son to God.
Yeah. And giving up the illusion that they've got some sort of control over that.
Right. Absolutely. I don't know if I'm helping or making it more difficult for them to understand, but
well, I think these are really part of the problem. I think, Steve, is that these are such hard concepts, like for anybody, and so much of recovery, I think, is like this. You could speak to this better than I could, just as an observer, but so much of recovery, there's all of these tensions where two things that are opposite are kind of true at the same time. And you've got to find that balance of that tension. I think this is one of those things where it's like the most loving thing you can do is allow natural consequences for somebody's actions to help change them. But that doesn't feel like love, but it is, right? And we see that same thing, I think, when you look at, and like I said, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. We see that same thing in different 12-step related concepts. Like I gain my power back by understanding my own powerlessness, right? I have to understand that I'm not the center of the universe. It's not about me, but sometimes I have to make decisions that are best for my recovery, not other things. And so there's this kind of dichotomy of action at different places in the process.
Yeah. I was at a meeting today and I got to find this quote. Somebody said something that I was like, and I can't believe that I had only heard it this one time. It was so, the quote is, if man, I guess that didn't charge. The quote is, if you're not the problem, then there's not a solution.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're still pointing the finger outside, and this goes for the families too, man. Like if they're only pointing the finger at the addict and the alcoholic, and they're not choosing to look at themselves and their own actions, that is also a part of the issue, right? Because we all know that it's a family disease. Yeah. None of these are charging my phone, man.
You buy this new place that doesn't even have electricity, man.
Yeah, what the hell's that about?
Yeah, I love that. If you're not the problem, then there is no solution. Speaks so much of how we understand that we're at the center of our own disruption.
Yeah. We are absolutely the problem. No, it is charging. I don't know if that answers your question, but
I think it answered it perfectly. Let me see. I know we don't have a ton of time left. Let me see if there's one more of these that we can tackle. We've been talking since we're kind of talking program stuff anyway. Answer this question, man. Does AA really work for people, or is it just a cult-like gimmick?
It absolutely works for people, and it absolutely is a cult. It's both of those.
I love that answer. I love that answer. Why do you think people have so much? Why do you think people have so much like fear about AA, or why do especially non-alcoholics and addicts? Do you think it's just because they don't understand what's happening?
Probably. There was this in the same meeting. This guy said, he said, "Man, I always thought that these rooms were just full of like people in a waiting room, just waiting to die in misery." And man, Alcoholics Anonymous is like so. Well, the 12 steps communities are so different than that. But the answer is yes, it works, and oftentimes it works when a lot of other things fail.
Yeah. So I'm gonna throw a common objection out to you about AA and get your response. Good salespeople always have to overcome objections.
Okay.
So if you're trying to sell somebody AA, I hear this one a lot, which is why I'd like to see. I know how I answer it from like a clinical, non-recovered person's view of AA, but I'd like to hear it from somebody who's done it for 24 years. If AA works, why are there so many people there who are still drinking?
I would say that they're not. I would say there's more people that are actively in Alcoholics Anonymous that are not drinking than there are. And
yeah, so there's just a clear misconception.
If you were the one that was asking me that question, I would say you need to look at the people you're choosing to hang around with. Just because they're sitting in that room doesn't mean they're a member of Alcoholics Anonymous.
Tell me the difference. That's the answer that I love.
Being a member of Alcoholics Anonymous is about working with other alcoholics. It's about working the 12 steps. It's about being a part of a community. It's about coming early and staying late. And if you think that you can just go sit in a room and catch recovery by osmosis, it's not COVID. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you have to diligently, oh my God, you have to diligently work at Alcoholics Anonymous in order for it to be successful. It's not a,
yeah,
I don't know.
I always tell people that there's two different types of people at an AA meeting. Oftentimes there's people who are actually there working a program of recovery, and then there's people who are just attending the meeting because they think that might be a good thing for them to do. And those are different. It's like going to a gym and seeing somebody who's actively working out hard, and then me going to the gym and just watching everybody work out and thinking I'm going to be in better shape.
Exactly. That's a really great analogy, right? Like, how many times did that individual ask him? I would ask him, how many times have you read the Big Book?
Yeah.
How many times have you taken every suggestion that your sponsor told you to? Right? Like, I would argue that person's not a member. They don't have a home group. You know what I mean?
What's tricky about that is if I went to the gym and I watched people work out every day for a week, I would feel like I'm getting better because I'm excited and I'm like, man, look at all these people changing. I can't wait to do this. But if I don't ever take any action and do anything, I'm almost going to trick myself into thinking that I'm getting better, even though I'm not getting any better.
Right. That's called self-sponsorship.
Okay, there's a term for it.
Well, that's what we would call it, is you're just self-sponsoring yourself. You basically just go and you read the 12 steps. You're like, okay, I'm an alcoholic. Okay, I'm a Yeah, I can believe God can restore me to sanity, and you just like read them and you don't work them.
Yeah.
There's a difference between, you know, working a program of Alcoholics Anonymous or 12 steps, whatever it might be, and actually, I mean, and not, and just attending the meetings. You know, there's people that will get years and years of sobriety, and
Yeah.
I'll just tell you that guy that says, "Why is everybody drinking still? If it works," he's obviously just hanging out with the wrong people.
Yeah.
That's all I can. That's what I would tell him. I'm like, man, you need to check your friend group. Then, are you choosing to hang out with the winners? Are you soaring with the Eagles, or hanging out with the pigeons? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
100%. 100%. Hey, man, I always kind of wrap up with the same question. If you knew for certain that somebody was watching that was really wrapped up in a dark spot, or maybe a family member of theirs was really wrapped up in a dark spot, what would your like 30 or 60-second kind of message of hope or encouragement be for that individual?
it would be really short. It would be, I've been there. I know what it feels like. And if you want something different, all you have to do is be willing to go to any lengths. And that goes for a family member or for the actual individual that's struggling. So
hold on, I'm writing that down. You're a wise man. Or you've been taught many wise things.
Yeah, I've listened. Nothing that I've said was of my own. It was all given to me. So,
hey, Steve, man, I feel like I haven't seen you in a minute. It was good just to visit with you and see
you too, buddy.
Thanks for your time tonight, brother. Thanks for what you do for the recovery community, and all the things that you do for everybody. It is good work that makes a difference. So appreciate you, man.
You got it, man. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you and everything that you do.
Hey, everybody that joined us, thanks for being here. You can choose to do 1,000 different things on a beautiful spring Monday night. You chose to spend it with us, so we appreciate it. We'll see you again in 2 weeks for another edition. So have a wonderful week. Steve, we'll catch you later, brother.
Thanks, buddy. Take care.